Howdy. Good to see you there. Have you ever experienced deja vu?
That's not what this
Have you
is
ever
about.
sat back and thought about, man, things used to be different when I was growing up. C-3PO had 2 golden legs. Pikachu's tail looked like Pikachu's tail always
I
has
just
looked.
saw one on TikTok. Okay, so we're talking about the Mandela effect.
Wow,
But,
way to fucking ruin that.
okay, there's a new one that I just saw on TikTok. I have to tell you, so I had to clue them in. Are you ready?
No.
Cool Whip, like Ready Whip, the spray at the grocery store, has no H. Cool, W-I-P. That ain't right. That ain't right.
I never paid enough attention to
It
that.
had an H,
But
apparently it doesn't.
I do know that there was a Kazam movie. There definitely was.
Shazam.
No, not Shazam, the Marvel or the DC character. I'm talking about Kazam
I thought it was Shazam.
with Sinbad.
Yeah, I thought that was Shazam.
Kazam. Shazam is a DC comic character.
I thought it was Shazam.
No, but I do remember that. And people try to say that it wasn't a thing. And I'm like, no, motherfuckers, I totally remember that.
Yeah, no, I remember that too.
And like Max with the crooked tooth. And then then they're like, no, that's the Shaquille O'Neal Genie movie. And it's like, fuck, man.
But no.
There was definitely a movie back in the day that had Sinbad playing a genie, and then the Berenstain Bears.
Yes.
And there's a bunch of them. The Mandela effect seemingly has sunk its tentacles into every little orifice of our imaginations.
Ooh,
And
wow.
So there's this video from this channel called Thoughtly 2
I picked it out.
that Nikki picked out.
Yeah, I was like, we need to react to like a new content
Science
creator.
fiction, creepy,
And I've never
thought-provoking.
watched any of these videos, and I was just like, it'd be cool. I mean, like, everybody's experienced this that I know of, you know?
in some form or fashion.
Yeah.
So why not check out this video that could be informative about that situation? Are you guys ready?
All right.
Let's watch it.
Hey, 42 here. This stoutly man is Rich Uncle Pennybags. But you knew that, didn't you? Known to many simply as Monopoly Man. He's known for his waistcoat, jacket, top hat, moustache, and of course, his monocle. But wait a minute. The Monopoly Man has never had a monocle. I know, you're absolutely certain that he does, but
No,
I promise
I don't
you,
remember him
Mr.
having a
Pennybags
monocle.
has never, ever had a monocle.
Yes, he
You have
has.
made it up.
That's the peanut
entirely.
dude.
This image doesn't exist. Don't panic, you're not alone. The vast majority of people are absolutely certain that they remember the Monopoly Man with a monocle.
I don't remember
So
that.
what's going on here? Well, these people, and possibly yourself, have all fallen victim to the Mandela effect. The Mandela effect is when a great number
put
of
a little
people
R in
remember
that.
something in a
Mandela
completely
effect.
different way to how it actually was, or remember an event that never actually happened. You know those times when your mind betrays you? You are certain it happened that way, but the facts say otherwise. It happens to us all, and psychiatrists have a word for it: confabulation. Confabulation is a disturbance or distortion of a memory. But some people say there's more to the Mandela effect than a simple distortion of memory.
Get over
and
that.
the real reason that millions of people's memories are betraying them is far more terrifying and sinister.
And how do we all remember the
name
same thing?
Mandela effect is named after the man himself, ex-president of South Africa, Nelson Mandela. In 1962, Mandela was arrested and thrown in jail for 27 years for starting a workers' strike at a time when South Africa was led by a minority white rule with an iron fist. Black and white were segregated. This was the apartheid. A large number of people around the world vividly remember seeing footage broadcast on television of Nelson Mandela dying inside prison during the 80s. They even remember seeing his funeral live on international TV. Of course, this isn't true. Mandela was released from prison, became president, and died in 2013 at home. So what's going on here? How come millions recall seeing his death in the 80s? Well, it's the first big mystery that coins the term Mandela effect.
So
People
mysterious.
are constantly discovering new examples of the Mandela effect. In recent years, many have come into the public eye via the internet. One of the most spine-tingling is the mystery of the Berenstein Bears. The American viewers among us will remember a series of children's books from the 60s onwards. This lovable family of bears was a significant part of everybody's childhood in the US. There were over 300 books in total, and not to mention a TV series in 2003 that went by the same name, the Berenstein Bears.
It was 2003?
But
I thought it was
here's
much
the truly
younger.
shocking thing. The Berenstein Bears never existed. Sure, there was a cute family of bears, but they were actually called the Berenstain Bears with an A.
Which is wrong.
This has seriously messed with the heads of millions of Americans because quite literally everyone knew it as the Berenstein Bears. Many have said it's down to the creators changing the name at some point because Berenstain sounds less Jewish than Berenstein.
Is that
But
what?
the name was never changed.
Why?
Never heard
Conspiracy?
that.
Why does every conspiracy have to do that? Stop.
Berenstein.
Leave the Jews alone.
But something eerie is definitely going on here. There are some very rare examples of official merchandise being uncovered deep from the back of people's garages and attics, showing the franchise being spelt Berenstein, such as on this old VHS.
See?
But to confuse matters even further, the name on the front of the tape is spelt Berenstain.
I don't know.
Creepy. But could this just be no more than a typo by the graphic designer? You remember the most famous line from Star Wars, don't you? Luke,
No,
I am
stick your
your
fingers.
Where?
Except that line was never said in the films.
You didn't
What
even
they
hear
actually
me.
said
I did.
was, no.
Nikki has
I am
not.
your
Da, da,
father."
da, da, da.
A small difference, sure.
I mean, I
but
know,
then why
Luke,
does the
I am your
whole world
father.
keep saying,
forget it.
Luke,
Can I listen?
I am
Yeah.
your father.
Are you sure?
Yes.
There's more. Remember Silence of the Lambs? Everyone knows what Hannibal said to Clarice when they first met. I mean, it's only the
Fuck, I don't
most
even
famous
remember.
quote from the entire film. He said,
Hello,
"Hello,
Clarice.
Clarice."
Yeah.
Nope, never said it. That line never appeared in the film. Don't believe me? Go
Yes,
watch
it did.
Hannibal actually said a rather forgettable good morning. Even the University of
Why does
Richmond
everybody say that
quoted
then?
the fictitious line in a scientific paper. Even people who have never seen Silence of the Lambs are familiar with Hannibal Lecter's sinister "Hello, Clarice." Another stark example, then, of the Mandela effect.
What?
Remember Sex in the City? It was actually called Sex and the City.
Yeah.
The Kit Kat logo doesn't have a dash in it. It never has.
What?
The Queen in Snow White never said "Mirror, mirror on the wall." Oh, and remember Jiffy, the well-known American peanut butter?
Jif.
There's no such thing. It's called Jif, not Jiffy. Hell,
I don't
I'm
feel like I
British,
remember
and
it
even
being
I
Jiffy.
recall it being called Jiffy. But then is that just because that's what millions of other people have been calling it all this time? The Flintstones was actually called the Flintstones, despite no one in the history of mankind ever calling it that.
Yeah. It's
So,
the Flintstones.
is there
yeah.
an explanation
Yeah.
to all of this? Well, kind of. There are 3 theories that do explain the Mandela effect, but all of them are equally as terrifying. The first popular explanation involves parallel universes. Some believe that we live our lives not just within one universe, but we are instead slipping and sliding between multiple universes within the multiverse without ever realizing it.
God damn you, Doctor Strange.
Each universe is ever so slightly different, and some believe that the Mandela effect is people noticing the minor differences between these other dimensions or universes. Or
That's what my turds do when I
don't
flush
travel
them.
between universes. What if we've always been in the same universe, but instead memories are leaked from other universes and seep into our universe as they intertwine and
Seems
collide?
like that would be more difficult.
This rather outlandish theory isn't currently backed up by any specific research. But that doesn't mean it isn't scientifically possible. New quantum mechanics theories suggest that there are multiple universes and they do interact with each other, possibly sharing information. So, when we remember something vastly different to what the archives tell us, Is it information coming from a parallel universe, or is it something far more sinister? As we all know, if something strange happens, there's a conspiracy theory surrounding it. It's the second law of the internet, after don't click on strange links. Mandela effect conspiracy enthusiasts believe the infamous Illuminati, or whatever shady group of men in suits are running the world from behind the scenes, have actually changed subtle elements of history
fuck with us.
to better suit their new world order. Just hoping that we wouldn't notice.
Oh no.
But oops, some people have.
Flintstones.
Why an omnipotent group of secret world
Goddamn
leaders
you,
would
Hulk
think
Hogan,
that the
Scott Hall, and
Monopoly
Kevin
Man
Nash.
Chronicle wasn't quite fitting for their new world order is anybody's guess. But what if you actually made all of this up? And this is the most terrifying of all the explanations, because this implies that our memories are nowhere near as reliable as we thought. Yet, what I'm about to tell you is by far the most scientifically accepted explanation for the Mandela effect. Psychologists say that we remember these events, books, films, and images so vividly differently to how they actually are because we've all created false memories.
But why are they the same?
What
Why
do
does
you
everybody remember it
most
the
about your
same?
childhood? Is it what you ate for dinner each night or what you watched on TV? Your memories of these things are probably fuzzy at best, yet you can remember the names of all of your friends, and that time when you broke someone's window playing football. You probably remember all the times you were naughty, and that's because you talked about those events afterwards with your friends. Your parents talked to you about it afterwards. You received punishment in relation to that event. Conversation is arguably the most powerful memory creator there is, and talking about an event after it happened creates far stronger memories than whilst the event is actually taking place. Memories are created by connections forming in the brain. Your brain is full of cells called neurons, and connections between them called synapses. Imagine a neuron that represents a window and another that represents a ball. As a child, the moment you kicked that ball through batshit Bob's window, a physical synaptic connection was created in your brain between these two neurons, thus forming a weak memory of the event. But then, when you tell your mates about how you just broke batshit Bob's window, that connection actually gets thicker, strengthening that memory. Then, when your mum confiscated your Game Boy afterwards, the connection grows once again. But it goes even further. Every time you recall that memory from here on out, the connection gets stronger. By simply remembering something, you are strengthening that memory forever. Of course, this also means that if you remember something wrongly, every time you remember what actually happened, you are instead strengthening the incorrect memory that's already there. This is why we can't see past our memories.
But why does
our brains tell us that they are
the
unquestionably
same?
reliable.
There's some shit that just don't make
no way to know
sense
that memory
about the
was false
Mandela
to
effect.
begin with, until someone comes along and tells us or shows us that we have remembered it incorrectly. This is called false memory, and it is by far the most likely thing that's causing the Mandela effect. In 1974, psychologists Loftus and Palmer showed 45 students a clip of a real car crash, then asked a question. How fast were the cars going when they hit each other? The range of answers were vastly unreliable,
It never showed, I
but it
bet.
was also discovered that by changing the wording of the question, also completely changed the people's answers. Those who were asked how fast were the cars going when they contacted each other gave a much slower speed than those who were asked how fast were the cars going when they smashed into each other.
They smashed.
Just how unreliable
They smashed
memories
fast.
can be, and how our conversations with others can distort our memories. Mandela didn't die in the 80s like many thought, but in 1990 he was released from prison. The event was significant and was broadcast on TV across the world, with millions tuning in to watch. There was a large state procession on the streets of South Africa to celebrate his release, which many Americans and others remember watching. But such an event could easily be misconstrued to have been a funeral procession.
No, it couldn't.
Nelson
no,
Mandela's name was nowhere near as famous back then as it is now, so people may not have paid much attention to what was actually happening at the time, thus creating a false memory that he died. The Berenstein Bears was read by school kids who couldn't give a toss about proper spelling.
No.
Steen is also a far
No.
more common suffix to a surname than Stain, so it makes perfect sense that children simply called it the incorrect name of Berenstein Bears when discussing the book with friends, and so grew up with this false memory.
Everybody.
The same logic applies to movie quotes. You've probably heard, "Luke, I am your father," and "Hello, Clarice," many more times in real life during conversations with others than you have heard them in the
False.
actual films.
I watched-
At least the part in the film.
I watched
with the
Star
line was
Wars so
supposed
many
to.
times back in the
Turns
day.
out that every instance of the Mandela effect can be explained by collective false memory, which is disappointing to some and scary to others. The simple fact that everyone you speak to shares the same misconceptions about
Yeah.
something actually strengthens that false memory. You've likely spread misinformation to hundreds of others when you've quoted lines from films that were never said, and discussed events very differently than what actually happened. We are all part of the problem, and new examples of the Mandela effect will continue to surface, because nobody's memory is perfect. And I for one welcome them, because that's what makes us human, and such curiosities keeps life so interesting. Thanks for watching.
So that was Thoughtly 2
Two.
and his video on the Mandela effect. I feel like the Star Wars shit is where I draw the line, like in the sand, okay? Because I thoroughly remember Luke, I am your father, because Luke's reaction to that is complete terror.
Okay, because I haven't watched this film yet.
She has yet to watch The Empire Strikes Back. It's actually the next Star Wars movie that Nikki has to watch, but every time I bring up watching Star Wars, you would think I was trying to give her a syringe full of AIDS.
Wow, Chad, that's so fucked up. Okay, so what I don't understand is if it's not Luke, I am your father, and he has that reaction, what the fuck would he say?
I think that they say it's something along those lines, like something akin to the revelation of that fact to him. I can't remember exactly what it is, but it's just really annoying. And I have a C-3PO toy that I have had since the re-release of Star Wars in theaters
I remember when you figured
in
this
like
out.
1996 or something, when they did the George Lucas remastered Star Wars movies, and they put out the action figures for those. And C-3PO has 2 golden legs. There is not a silver leg. They're gold. There were never any arguments about his leg being wrong then. There were no protests at the comic book shop
But
about them
apparently
fucking up the...
just silver.
Now, the leg is silver.
Yeah. And they have always been silver.
And they have his one leg has always been silver. But the truth is, you know, that leg was gold. I always remember it, because here are the things like that you would notice as a kid for the main characters of the show. Like, I knew like the color of Luke's belt. I knew.
Okay, so another one that really fucked you up when it happened, and you asked me, was Pikachu's tail being brown.
Yeah.
And you were like, no, you even remember it being like that. And I was like, yeah no, that, I remember that. And
Yeah.
then you showed me, and I was like, no, that looks wrong.
When it starts, like, when there's tinkering with
Main character.
shit that I was just like obsessed with as a kid.
Yeah.
You know, things that me and my friends dug into massive detail about. And then that's different. I'm just like, no.
It just like weirds me out because he's like, oh, it's just that everyone remembers it wrong, but they all remember it the same kind of wrong.
Yeah.
And then you strengthen those memories by saying, and it's like, no.
He didn't bring up the main theory that I've heard as to why this has happened.
What?
Which lots of people talk about, the particle accelerator. The collider that's like in the fucking Netherlands or something like that. I think they call it
I don't know what the fuck you're
what is
talking
it called, Dr. Dell? The hydrogen CERN or whatever, where they take and they just smash atoms at like the quickest
I've heard
fucking
of CERN,
possible
yeah.
thing that they can,
What does
just
that
to see
got to
what
do
kind of
with-
energy is released. But they say that that's what's caused like parallel universes to like shift and stuff, is that explosion from those experiments.
I've never heard that before. No,
Yeah.
I mean, that makes the most sense to me, is some sort of alternate dimension.
This falls in the realm of like some of the best advice that my dad ever gave me, because I catastrophize a lot. You know, I have OCD and I worry heavily about things that don't matter. And one time as a kid, I was having an existential crisis based around space, because space has freaked me out forever. And I was like, Dad, you know, all this stuff. And he was like, yeah, you know, everything you're saying is true. Like, there's nothing about what you just said that's I can tell you isn't true, or don't worry about it because it's not real. But like, what the fuck are you going to do about it? And it's like, that's true. Like, even if all of this stuff in the Mandela effect were true to the most extreme degree, and there's like this parallel universe shit going on, it's like, what are you going to do about it?
I mean, it's not like you're going to do anything about it, but it's still relative to
There's
your
nothing wrong with
experience.
thinking about it and
Yeah,
being
but
enamored by it, but the moment that you start letting it affect your
Yeah.
life to the point where you're like worried or
Debilitated.
concerned, not
Yeah.
even debilitated, just bothered.
Yeah.
It's like, you got to understand that even if that's the reality of things, you can't fucking do anything about it. There were people in Fred's country who were being bombed by the Nazis, and they still had tea, and they still ate biscuits, and they still had to live through those days and find some sort of comfort and some quality of life beyond, oh my God,
yeah.
there's a blitzkrieg going on. It just is part of our situation that there are going to be things so grand and so beyond us that we, even though they might bother us, have got to find a way to push on and just be okay with it.
Even if we have different dimensions and parallel universes.
Yeah, I
and
mean, it just is what
all
it is.
this crazy fucking shit that we cannot explain.
It's the way that I've fucking felt about all this stuff that comes out about UFOs and shit. It's like, nobody seems to care. There's like all this proof of like aerial phenomenon and shit, and people are just like,
that goes with what you said. It's like, what the fuck are you gonna do about it? It's
What are
like,
you gonna do about
aliens
it?
are real. It's like, yeah, I figured. No, the government said it, that they're real. It's like, yeah, I
and
mean,
Bigfoot's just out here like, don't nobody care about me no more.
yeah, I mean, I don't know. Shit's whack. It's crazy. It's
The
unexplainable.
moment they start fucking with Star Wars and Pokemon, though, I will find out some way to do something. I will be the old man shaking my fist at the clouds. I may sling a turd or two, just because like the ape in me will come out over that. But I don't know. It's just ridiculous. It's ridiculous, but it does explain. Like, if there's parallel universes crossing over, it's like, oh,
It explains a
it
lot.
explains all this
Yeah.
stupid shit that should not be as
Or it's like, no, I know I just did that. And it's like, maybe you did, just not here. Right?
Yeah.
Oh, no, did I turn the stove off? And it's like, no, you didn't. No, I remember doing that. Well,
For me, it more so describes how somebody can go from making a lewd tape with a already career-ended low-end celebrity then to become one of the most affluential people in modern times. Kim Kardashian, I'm talking about you. How does that happen?
Marketing.
But marketing of what? Like, it wasn't
marketing of
it wasn't even like that, you know?
bobs and Vagines.
But like, there's so many, so it still doesn't make sense. And then like how Lobster Man became president, and there's so many.
Like, who is Lobster?
There's so many things.
That
There's so many things. Cheeto Man, I guess, would be.
Cheeto Man, more identifiable.
You know, not to say like that. That whole sect of politics could have been represented by anybody else, like, you know, with the same message.
I think we're getting into like lizard people theories, though.
We're not getting into lizard people theories. This is all Mandela effect shit. People have said, like, you know, there's differences in like how the whole Apprentice thing went down. Like, there's people who remember that show crashing and burning and not being as huge of a success as in our timeline. It was one of the most popular shows ever. But there are people who remember, because up to that point, all of the ventures that Donald Trump had been in like that had been catastrophic failures. Like, he tried to start a league of football to go head to head with the NFL. Disaster. Lost people millions and millions of dollars. He started a casino on where was it? I can't remember. But it was on the East Coast, and it was like the Taj Mahal recreated.
Oh yeah, no, I remember.
And it was a epic fucking
but Chad,
failure.
You're only talking about his failures. In the comments, let's not even.
Right.
Mandela effect. Bernstein Bears.
But then that happened.
Pokemon.
And
let's stay in this region.
But then that happened, and it's like, now it's this huge success, all these things. So, I mean, there's tons of examples of weird-ass Mandela effect things that I've seen. And I had never heard about the Mandela effect, and I don't think it was a thing for anybody up until, I don't know, like after the Butterfly Effect and shit like that was a popular
Still haven't watched that movie.
The first one was pretty interesting. But anyway, it's a great topic for debate. Everybody has their own fucking thoughts on the Mandela effect. And me, for one, I could give a fuck less. I mean, if it starts fucking up shit that I really, really enjoy to an extreme degree.
There have been times where you have just been like, no, that's not right. So.
Yeah, exactly. Pokemon, Star Wars.
Yeah.
That's where I draw the line. Where's the line for you? When will you start protesting the Mandela effect?
What do you remember correctly or incorrectly, or just that's different?
Yeah, let us know down in the comment section. We'd appreciate to hear from you there. If you like this video, you should go check out Thoughtly 2's channel, which has over 4 million subscribers, almost 5 million. I'm sure he would enjoy your support anyway. And if you would like to give us a like, subscribe to the channel, even give us recommendations for things you would like to see us react to in the future, you can do that.
Yeah, multiple places. You can do it down in the comments. You can do that on our Discord, or if you are a patron on our Patreon, you can leave it there.
Be cool. We also do live streams every Monday and Thursday evening at 6:30 Eastern Standard Time. You can hang out with us also on Thursdays when we do our live streaming reactions exclusively on Twitch, just like we are now. Shout out to Fred, Dr. Dale, Adrian. We've got Novus Troya in here.
Aiden.
Oh, yeah. My bad. But yeah, you could hang out with us and chat with us while we're doing reactions live like we are right now. Be cool to see you there. But for this video, that's going to do it.
That's gonna do it.
See y'all.